$2,000 now. Better start buying stuff. Oh, I think we're live.
Oh, we are. Okay. Yeah,
What's up, guys? I didn't even realize I clicked the button. Welcome to another episode of trading. What the hell are we doing here? We're live at Bitcoin 2019 day 2. Sorry about the video getting cut off yesterday. It was very, very sunny, and the computer overheated in the sun, and now it's like freaking cold.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people got sunburned yesterday.
Yeah,
not
so
me, because I'm dark.
I have like a sunburn now, and today is freezing.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, dude. Oh, you're really burned.
I know, just sitting in the same freaking seat yesterday, and today it's cold as hell.
Yeah.
But we are back on with Jimmy. Man, so the price moved over the last 24 hours. So that was kind of insane. I mean, last night we were hanging out. We had some good prime rib yesterday.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
But the
You're not
fun
even
part,
a fan of prime rib.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was really good.
It was really good.
But the best part was, I paid with my credit card, and Tone paid me in Bitcoin. And by the time I woke up, that Bitcoin had appreciated like 8%.
Yeah, he made a lot of money right there.
Yeah.
So Jimmy made a good deal by paying that bill last night with his credit card. But hey, speaking of which, as you guys know, I am happy to spend my Bitcoin at these prices because I believe that this Bitcoin run up is unsustainable. So any chance anyone allows me to pay in Bitcoin, I am absolutely happy to take it. So both of us it worked out for both of us yesterday.
Yeah, I like holding. I like accumulating. Actually, I have more cash, Stone. We can figure something out.
Yeah, and right now I am happy to sell a little bit. So let's just go take a look at the charts, and then we take it from there.
All right.
And then we'll see if we can interview more people like we did yesterday.
Or I mean, we could talk about some other stuff too. But let's.
So I think this is the screen. I just have it on full screen.
Nice.
That's one of my presentations. I can probably close. I did a presentation earlier today. By the way, have you seen this site? Oh, you were there when we did it, right?
CoinMarketCap, yes.
Right, CoinMarketCap, and here it is. And Bitcoin has appreciated 20% in the last 24 hours.
That's insane.
Actually, I want to, just in case, I want to update it. Just to refresh one more time. Bitcoin is up 20%. Ethereum is up, or shitcoin number 2 is up 14%. And then we have 4, 7. Some of them have been losing money over the last 24 hours, whatever shitcoin number 6 is. And so nothing even is coming close. The number 18, shitcoin number 18 is coming in at 16% up. Shitcoin number 22, 1185. And whoa, something's beating Bitcoin. Shitcoin number 27 is up 29%.
And let me see what that is. OMG, I guess.
Omi's Go.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, and here's one more. Shitcoin number 30 is up 17%.
I think that's Decred.
It really doesn't matter, right? The point is, all of these things will not go up as high as Bitcoin. Let's go to the price of Bitcoin. Let's look at the weekly chart. I think it's this one. Yep. Oh, my computer restarted again, so everything gets like reset here. All right. So this has been another unprecedented week. Completely nuts. So in the last 2 weeks, didn't mean to move that. In the last 2 weeks, we have broken 3. Again, I'm moving it. Jeez. We have broken 3 Fibonacci lines. Now, just like what happened with the last Fibonacci line, right here at $9,400 area, we need to close on a weekly level above that Fibonacci line. Now, we closed way above that Fibonacci line because you don't know where the week is going to close. Today is what, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Right. So today is only Wednesday. We still have more than half a week to go. So anything can happen, really. We need to close above this Fibonacci line. This is the 62% Fibonacci line. It's supposed to be significant, but so far this morning, it has not been significant. Let us see where this closes. I cannot stress enough how badly Bitcoin needs a pullback for a sustained bullish trend. I understand that everyone thinks that Bitcoin is a new paradigm, but unless I missed something, I don't think much has changed in the last 6 months.
Not that much.
Not that much. Not,
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe China money is moving in, something like that.
but China money is moving, doesn't actually stay in Bitcoin, right? I mean, they like their real estate. They're moving it for transactional reasons. What goes in will come out.
Well, OTC desks are apparently. I'm hearing rumors of OTC desks in China having a 4 or 5% premium on Bitcoin. Might be a trade war thing. I don't know.
Look, I will continue waiting for my pullback before looking to go in more. Because remember, guys, I was one of the people that held throughout the bear market. Being a laughing stock throughout the bear market, by hodling Bitcoin, gives me personally the leeway to be very, very patient and not FOMO at this run up. Now, I understand a lot of people are FOMOing in right now. As long as you are okay with taking a significant pullback, the the more we go straight up unsustainably, the more nervous I get about new lows. As weird as that sounds, normally I would be the guy like last time, where when we broke. Let me go to the monthly chart on that one. Last time around, here's the monthly chart. Last time around, when we broke to new all-time highs at 1,300, I was one of the biggest bulls in the world on Bitcoin. But that's because we got to 1,300 in a somewhat steady and orderly fashion. It was a pretty slow grind. We got stuck for a month, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got stuck for 6 months at 460. We had a 2-month pullback from from 800 down to below 5. We then got stuck at 1,300 for 3.5 months. This was a very orderly run up. I was not only bullish for the run up, I was the biggest bull at the breakout of all-time high, calling for significantly higher prices. That is not what we're seeing today. What we're seeing is an unprecedented exponential rise. This right here is the equivalent of what happened after, like, we hit 7,000. Even the run up from 1,300 to 7,000 was somewhat sustained. We had multiple significant pullbacks from 3,000 to 1,800, from 5,000 to 3,000, from 7,500 to 5,400. We had multiple legitimate multi-week pullbacks, and we're not having that now. So what we're looking at right here is another unsustainable exponential rise. And every time Bitcoin does it, whether it's 2013 or 2011 or twice in 2013 and or in 2017, it was followed by an 85+% correction. Now, here is the important part. If we go significantly higher than the prior all-time high of 20K, and by significantly, I mean to at least 50,000, an 80% correction from there is not that big a deal. It'll still keep us above 10K. But if we reverse any minute between here and 20,000, what happens on an 80 to 90% correction if this current exponential rise exhausts itself pre-20K? So let's say we make it to 16K. An 80+% correction from there is divided by 5. So that takes us back down to the $3,000 area. And that is what's concerning me. What's concerning me is the unreasonable rise. Now, if you have Bitcoin, you're sitting pretty. If you don't have Bitcoin, you have very, very tough decisions to make. I advise to be patient, and I don't want to say I was very I was way more, what's the word I'm looking for here? I was way more, I guess, open to people hodling Bitcoin through a bear market like myself, people dollar cost averaging, and constantly telling people that if you are willing to hold on to Bitcoin for the long term, the best time to buy Bitcoin was always yesterday. So I prepared for this moment, but this is bothering me. I did not really sell. Oh man, what's wrong with my? I was not really selling a lot of Bitcoin on this last run up because I didn't have. I didn't want to like. I didn't have the connections that I do now. But now, it's a lot easier for me to sell, and I'm taking that opportunity to do it. Jimmy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I hear you on the 80% correction. I guess my only question would be if we go back to the 2013 candles, because you're comparing it a lot to the 2015, 2016 era. If we look at sort of the
Here's
candles
the
there,
2013.
yeah. So you had a little bit like that. I mean, isn't it possible that we do sort of like a double bump like we did in 2013?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Uh-huh.
It's very possible that the current run-up is the early 2013 run-up, and then we correct, and then we go up for another run-up into the halving.
Yeah.
Or following the halving.
Right.
And this is what I mean to stay patient. The run-up in early 2013, which is when I first bought my very first Satoshi, this run-up, so right here, we're still at $12. So as of January 2013, in 1, 2, 3, and 4 months, we went from $12 to $250. So we went up 10x. Was it 10x?
It was more than 10x. It was 15x, something like
15x, right? Yeah. So we went up from 12 to 250 in a matter of 4 months. But then we
12 to 250 is 22x. That's insane.
Yeah. But then we corrected from 250
to 50.
down to about 45 on some exchanges. And that happened within a few weeks. It was a quick correction. And then you had a secondary low at about 65, and that took place about 2 or 3 months later, right? So if something similar happens because of the current run-up, right? So from 250 down to 50, that is still
80%.
an 80% correction, right? So if we top pre-20,000, divide that number by 5. So
4,000, yeah.
Right, so divide 16 or 16 by 4, you get 4,000, right? So even if we go down 75%, not even 80%, if we go down 75% from 16,000, that still takes you down to 4,000, okay? And that's what I'm waiting for. I'm not like, originally I had no Bitcoin, so I was more than happy to chase him here into 250 because I recognized the use case of Bitcoin being the Cyprus banking confiscation. And I believed in Bitcoin so much, that was the reason why I bought it, that after I bought it, I watched my my Bitcoin like double in price, and then I was sitting in a losing position, okay? But I didn't mind, I was in it for the long term. And that's what that's what I'm looking at today. Now, today, I'm in a different scenario. I have Bitcoin. So because I have it, it's not really a concern for me personally, but if I didn't have it, I would probably be chasing here, but I would have been already chasing a little bit, right? But this is where dollar cost averaging is not a bad idea. But I am not expecting a straight up to new all-time highs. It can happen. But again, the more this goes up exponentially, the more likely you are for the 80% correction. And I still think you will be able to get Bitcoin sub 10,000, maybe even nicely sub 10,000. But if you don't have any Bitcoin, it's a very stressful time for you right now.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So it is kind of unprecedented, and it's something that that we haven't really seen. I can tell you though that like the mood and everything else, it does remind me of previous you know, like February, March of 2013 sentiment.
Yeah, it actually reminds me a lot more of late 2013 than late 2017, because there was one shitcoiner on stage yesterday and the Twitter went at it, right? It was Mashinsky of Celsius. The booth is right there. I'm literally pointing at it. So he was on stage apparently shilling his shitcoin, and like Udi and some of the other Twitter guys are really like giving Bitcoin Magazine a lot of shit for pitching a shitcoin on stage at this conference.
Yeah. So this is I mean we'll see, I guess, but yeah, we'll be watching to see how all of this reacts. But I mean, can you at least tell us like what sort of time horizon we're looking at, like what sort of countdown?
So here's my current problem, right? Again, I try to explain to people what my thinking is, and my thinking was get out of Bitcoin at this Fibonacci, at this 62% Fibonacci line, right? But I was anticipating for us to take a month or two to go from 9,400 to 3,500, right?
13,000.
I mean, we are talking a 50% rise in an asset, right? So had this been a 9 on a weekly at 13.5, I would be all about, you know, like calling everyone trying to get out of the market. And even on a daily scale, we're hitting this level unreasonably early, right? Yes, we're on another combo 13, guys, but it's just going straight up. Look at this. It's insane, right? So I would have also been looking to get out of Bitcoin at 13.4, 13.5 at the Fibonacci line on a daily 9. But this is not a daily 9. So since we're hitting the price way earlier based on sequential and time scales, your only option is to just keep holding. Is that food?
Oh, yeah.
Joseph Boone?
Yeah.
Oh. Should we get him for an interview?
Probably. I'll ask him.
So right here, because we're...
That is a big stick, too.
I know.
Yeah, wow.
Hey, if you're in a bullish asset and it's rising without any signs of slowing down, there's no reason for you to sell it. You need a reason to sell it, okay? And right now, I see no reason to get out of your bullish position.
I don't even see any of the moving averages even close here. What's going on?
No, I have them turned off.
Okay.
There they are.
Okay.
They're not close either, right?
Yeah,
I had them turned off, but it's all bullish, right?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong. If you're holding Bitcoin, just keep holding it. There's nothing here to really worry you. Now the 12-hour chart is probably a lot closer to a 9, or maybe not. Nope, it's only on a 5. It's just moving 2 times faster.
Yeah.
So the 12-hour chart and a daily chart are still telling you there's a few days left in this run-up, no matter how big this candle is. Like if I was holding a bullish trade in Bitcoin right now, I would not be exiting. Here is the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart did hit a 9, and then a 1, and then a 2 over 1. It's just going up. It's also on a 5. So all the metrics, weekly, daily, 12-hour, 4-hour, they're all bullish. This big volume spike is bullish.
I bet you even the 15 minutes like that.
Yeah, we can go to the hourly chart. Not that that one really matters these days.
Okay, that one just hit a 9, but it's on a new one.
Nope. Oh, there it is. Okay. So the 1 hour is on a 9, but look at the candle. The candle is not a reversal candle. It needs to be like upside down. So if I was holding this, even with an hourly chart, considering every time frame above the hourly is bullish, the CMF looks great. We're a little overextended based on moving averages, but I still would not rush into an exit. I mean, maybe early this morning when it was hitting 3,400 Fibonacci line for the first time, but right now, even if you're a swing trader, like the trade is to the upside. If it's going up, you trade it to the upside. But I'm still waiting for my bigger pullback. I just don't expect it today. It's just rising. I want to look at the stock market real quick.
Okay.
The U.S. markets are open.
It's not open today?
Hey, we got CNBC right here.
They are?
Looks like it.
Okay.
We have a CNBC mic.
Oh, CNBC Africa. It must be Rand's.
Oh, it says Africa? No,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is Rand.
Uh-huh.
I'll be on Rand's show soon. Yeah, so here's the stock market, guys. And we had a big day yesterday. We just had a red 2 below a red 1. As a swing trader, I would not be bullish in stocks right now. I would wait for a reversal. I would wait for a green 2 to be above a green 1, approaching these highs, and then I would be all in again. I know Tyler went all in the stock market, but Tyler and I have slightly different.
Didn't he say that, like, what's the resistance level there?
How are you guys?
Hey, how's it going, guys? We're live right now.
We're live,
so
but you have no, but that's fine.
Yeah,
This is great.
that's
You
fine.
can interview us live on your live.
Yeah, so tell us about the conference. You've been talking a lot about it, I'm sure, today, but what's your gut feel about everything?
All right, Jimmy, you want to go first on this one?
I think the energy here is great for obvious reasons. There's a lot of price stuff going on. So Tone is actually doing a podcast exactly about that right now. That's what everyone wants to know about. Everybody's in a good mood because of it. You know, we're talking about Bitcoin and how it's gonna change the world and everything else. So it's great being at a maximalist conference, more or less.
Yeah,
so,
people don't like to talk about Bitcoin when it's down, but we sure love to talk about it when it's up, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely up, and it's going up really, really quick. I mean, we were just talking about how the last times we've seen it go up this quick was twice in 2013 and towards the end of 2017. And it makes me nervous as a trader, as an analyst. Anytime prices go up this quickly, it usually ends very, very badly. Now, the best case scenario is that we go up past the all-time highs of 20,000 and reach 50,000 and above. And then an 80% correction will at least be okay for those that have bought in the last few months. But if this exponential rise happens to top before the new all-time high, that makes me very, very nervous, because that will take us down close to last year's lows.
So we're holding on.
High to an all-time low, or we're holding on?
Oh, holding.
Well,
I mean, we've been through this before, guys. Like this not our first rodeos.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Thank you so much for letting me pop in.
All right.
Thank you.
That was interesting.
All right, that was CNBC Africa, and
We're doing a show.
yep. That was CNBC Africa. Thank you. And yeah, we were looking at charts.
Okay.
That was the S&P 500 though, but this is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
On a white background, probably doesn't come out very well.
Yeah, it's pretty reflective at the moment. It's crazy.
But yeah, we're almost at 14K, Jimmy. So the high today was 13,880.
Okay. Wow.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we break 14K.
How about 15K today? Do you think that happens?
Let's see. What's the definition of today? I already ran into this problem with Roger Villa.
How about 9 p.m. Pacific time?
9 p.m. Pacific time, I don't believe we will break 15,000.
Okay.
I really, really don't. I mean, we just got up 20% in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, 30
But
going up.
don't the candles get bigger on a parabolic rise though?
Eventually, people aren't willing to pay these prices.
Yeah, that's true.
I think so. Maybe tomorrow we can break 15K, but I don't think it's gonna happen today.
Okay. All right. Well, it's still pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. All right. Do you want me to get guests? What do you want me to do?
I don't know. Let's see. If you want the weather report on mining and mempool, I don't know.
All right. You want to go to Jatchen?
Oh wait, I'm not screen sharing right now.
Okay. You haven't been screen sharing the whole time?
No. I stopped screen sharing for the CNBC viewers.
Okay. J-O.
Oh, J-O.
C-H. Yeah, there you go. All right, let's take a look at the weather report. I think we do have some congestion, probably because of. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So
where should I be going?
Well,
God
go
damn,
down
it's
a little
cold.
bit. Yeah. All right. Go. All right.
Is the
So
mempool clearing though?
yeah, it's clearing more or less down to it looks like 5 or 6.
This is a 30-day. I should probably look at 2 week.
Oh, 3 month. That's a 3 month.
Those are 3 months.
Yeah. Do a 24-hour. That's gonna be the
So I
best.
do a 24-hour.
Yeah.
This is 2 weeks.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean it's.
Well, we did clear the mempool right here a couple of days ago.
Yeah. But
good.
yeah, the fees are going up right now. If you go up a little bit,
Let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's go to 2
24,
days.
24 hour. Well, I mean, we could do 2 days, I guess.
2 days should be good.
But the mempool is definitely filling up. You know, we do have the normal spike that we do in the morning. Actually, that looks like that spike happens usually at 9 a.m. Eastern. I don't know where your chart.
A little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is UTC time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's clearing. It cleared down to 10 Satoshi, or probably like 8 Satoshi per byte. So if you're going to do something today and you need it in the next 24 hours, the volume seems to be increasing. So I would say 15 to 20
Yeah,
is about a daily.
I've been using 15 to 20 satoshis per byte over the last few days.
Yeah.
And they've been clearing somewhat quickly, and those fees have been about 20 to 30 cents.
Yeah, and more mining power, I'm sure, is coming online right now because it's just so profitable.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even right now, you can see the clearing in the last few hours. But yeah, there's a lot of money to be made on fees as a miner. And this is how economics is supposed to work. And when there's motive, you know, there's more ones coming online. It's not as flexible or as immediate, but it is happening.
Oh, people want me to take a look at gold.
Okay. Yeah, Peter Schiff.
That's DXY. That's oil. I think it's right here.
There
There's
it is.
gold. Okay. So, oh yeah, look, the weekly gold pulled back, and that's because I think there was a 9 on daily gold, which we did mention in the notification service. It's pinned on my Twitter, guys, the notification service. Let's look at the daily gold, and we'll zoom in on that.
Yeah, there's your 9.
Yeah, there's the 9 on gold, so I'm not surprised that gold is pulling back. Oh boy. All right, here we go. I'm not surprised. He had a giant reversal candle yesterday, and today gold is having a decent pullback. I would not mess with this scenario. I know the weekly is still bullish, but I would, as a short-term trader, I would look for a gold pullback. Let's hope it's only 1 to 4 days, and then sets you up for another leg up. Okay, we had a 9 reversal candle. Bitcoin gold went a little bit higher. It consolidated and then did a nice run up. But I would take this 9 borderline seriously. But the weekly chart does trump the daily chart, and the weekly chart remains bullish, even though this is currently a reversal candle. But we don't know where this candle is going to close. So take note that the daily 9 is creating a bit of a pullback in momentum, but most likely this is a good candidate for a 1 to 4 candle correction and then more upside for gold. All right. Oh, Joseph Poon is still standing next to us. You want to get the latest on
I'll grab
Lightning?
him if you want.
Yeah, grab Joseph, and we'll get the latest on Lightning.
Okay.
Yo, Tone.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Get Scott on your
Who?
Scott.
Scott from where?
We got cited in the Bitcoin white paper a couple of times.
He was cited in a Bitcoin white paper?
Yeah.
For what?
He's refusing.
All right. All right, we're going to get Joseph. Hey, there was a Scott who was cited in a Bitcoin white paper. You know about this?
I don't know who he is. Yeah, what are you grabbing?
Yeah, we'll try to get you interesting people. Hey, we got a question from Dan. December 2017, 13,863 monthly all-time high close on Coinbase. Significance of a June 2019 monthly close. Above that number, 4 days to monthly closing. Let's go take a look at the monthly charts. I'm pretty sure I'm screen sharing. How are you, Scott?
Good.
Tone Base and Jimmy Song.
Hi, how's it going?
Are you up for a little interview? on a live show. Have a seat. Have a seat, and Jimmy, sit right next to him. I may need you for questions. Have a seat, sir. You okay being on camera?
Are you okay? He's doing a live stream. So
Perfect.
I gotta go to the bathroom too.
All right, cool.
Sure, I'm happy to talk on the spur of the moment. I'm
It's okay. It will be pretty straightforward.
often wrong, but never in doubt. That's my,
All right, so Mr. Scott, tell us who you are. What are you doing in the space, and do people know you?
Sure. So I guess the starting point is if you look at the 8 footnotes in the Bitcoin paper, 4 of them are references to my work.
Really? I should pull that up, and we can talk about it. Give me 1 second.
And then I'll tell you what I'm doing today.
Excellent. Bitcoin white paper. I don't have it handy. It's somewhere on my computer, but it's easier to use Google.
Easy enough to find.
All right,
Go to
we're
the
going
end.
straight to the references section.
Go to the end.
Perfect. There we go.
All right. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's me.
2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so tell us about it.
Well, basically, we laid the foundations for the blockchain. I was working with Stuart Haber at part of the Old Bell Labs, and we were very interested in how you'd create an immutable record. And we worked on it a long time, and we first came up with what I'd call a engineering grade solution, but it still required a trusted third party. I just said to Stuart, you know, I'm an ex-physicist, you're a mathematician, this isn't good enough. We need an elegant solution that eliminates the need to trust. And so we worked on that for a while. Finally, Stuart pulled me aside and said, you know, I don't think this can be done, and I'd like to get a publication out of this, so how about if we prove that it can't be done? So it was actually when we were working on the proof that it couldn't be done that we figured out how to do it.
Okay, and when was this? In the 90s?
Yeah.
So you said you were working on a proof that it couldn't be done, and you figured out how to do it, which was what
By
back in the
virtue of
90s?
the proof that it couldn't be done. By cryptographically linking all the records and then widely distributing copies of the record. So that, and then creating an incentive system for validating the records. That was sort of our token, was for validating the record.
So was there a token back in the 90s for this?
And there was a reward for validation, sure. What we didn't do, and you know, what is part of Satoshi's genius, is deciding to make it strictly about money. And then I think it took Adam's work on
Hashcash.
on mining in order to create a kind of super kick incentive to get things started. You know, we spent a lot of time thinking about incentives, but what in hindsight is obvious is that we needed to really crank up the incentive to kick the thing off. And that's clearly what Satoshi did.
Yeah, so I have a million questions. So where do we start? Did Satoshi reach out to you guys when he was writing the white paper, asking you additional questions about your work, or you didn't realize he was using it until the white paper was published?
Well, let me give you the standard answer that I give on this, which is right after the white paper came out, I had a lot of people reach out to me, unsolicited, people that I did not know, sending me email, but also just sending me regular mail saying, you know, I Googled you and I see how many of your footnotes are in the paper, and I also see that you speak Japanese. So I was just wondering, okay, and I always tell them the same thing, namely, watashi wa Satoshi de wa arimasen, demo Satoshi dattara sore o kokuhaku suru to omoimasu ka? I don't know how to say it any more clearly than that.
Well, we do have Japanese viewers. We do have a large audience here. This is great stuff. And Okay, so next question. When did you became aware of the white paper, and how did you, like, what was your initial reaction? Because Adam Back's initial reaction was, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah. So again, you know, I had been part of that whole sort of, I don't know if I'd call myself a crypto anarchist, but sort of crypto libertarian group all the way back to David Chaum's writings. You know, I'd been in that space and worked on lots of stuff and was well aware of, you know, his efforts on money. And what is first of all surprising to me is that it never dawned on me that the blockchain could be used for the cash goals that he had, because he had two goals, right? He wanted it to be fully decentralized, he wanted it to be untraceable, and he wanted it to be divisible. I'm talking about David Chaum, I'm not talking about Satoshi, but you know, David really created the zeitgeist for that whole community, in my opinion. And when I read the Bitcoin paper, I thought, you know, you've made it divisible, I grant you that. But in a sense, you haven't made it like cash. It's in no sense anonymous. It is so far from anonymous, being pseudonymous, that you're really not achieving that goal. It doesn't feel like cash at all. It's a ledger. And in a sense, it's it's still people having to check something against a single ledger. And so my first reaction was, you haven't achieved the cash goal at all. You've simply created a non-Federal Reserve or non-fiat by sovereign nation kind of currency. And then my other reaction was, wow, you have really, you know, turned the volume up to 11 by doing the mining thing. I just said, that is like super overkill. But obviously, you've heard me now say what my feeling is now. It was absolutely necessary to get the thing jump started.
All right, so since you mentioned David Chaum and we haven't gotten to what you're working on, what do you think of David Chaum creating an altcoin? I think it's a huge mistake. And I think it will, if he continues to go through with it, will like potentially darken his amazing resume up to this point.
Well, okay. There's nothing wrong with trying to create another coin. I don't see that necessarily as a black mark against anyone, particularly if you're a researcher. That's what you do, is you put out papers. It doesn't mean that they all work, you know, but the fact that you keep thinking and creating ideas, that's what you do. So I'm not going to give him any black marks for that. However, you know, when I was at the University of Chicago 2 weeks ago for my son's graduation, one of my son's graduations. And the reason I mention it is the commencement speaker was an economist whom I know, Luigi Zingales. He writes about fixing capitalism, which of course is an interest, if you will, in the crypto community. And he asked me what I thought of, and then he named a very famous mathematics CS professor. What do you think of so-and-so's new coin? And I said, you know, there are different phases in the development of things. And there's like a technology is the most important thing phase. And then there are other phases. And technology is no longer the most important thing phase, is where we are. In other words, yes, there are definitely improvements that are going to be made, but it's not the driver that it could have been 5 or 10 years ago. Now it's about embedding in the social structure and finding compelling use cases. And so I think in a sense that phase has passed. It's not that refinements aren't to be made, but the basic notion is good enough. What we have out there Now the phase that's prominent is the social embedding phase. And in that regard, whatever you think of Facebook as a company, and whatever you think of the technology flavor in the Libra paper, the social embedding of whatever 2.7 billion people that have accounts, that's undeniable.
All right, very well said. I have a few more questions before we get to your project. So what do you think? What do you think is the future for Bitcoin? Do you think that governments are going to turn hostile, or do you think they will be more accepting, like the internet? Because now we're dealing with money.
Bitcoin in particular, or cryptocurrencies?
I would like both answers.
Sure. I think in general, governments are going to become more accepting. I think that is just the way it works. There's a dance that goes on that requires some amount of regulatory concession on the part of cryptocurrencies. Whether that means changing their fundamental nature, I don't think that's required. But you know, I mean, the simple place is at the handoff point between historical currencies and cryptocurrencies. I think there's adequate and appropriate room for useful government regulation. And I think so long as governments get to have a little, you know, sort of a place at the table when it comes to that aspect of it, I think there's going to be a gradual coexistence.
All right, sounds very promising. Okay, so now let's talk about what you're working on today.
So I'm a partner and chief scientist at a private equity firm that invests in the blockchain.
What does that mean? Like companies, or you're actually you're investing in companies?
I'm investing in companies, but in addition, our firm is called Yugen Partners. And it's a Japanese word because, as I said, I'm a real fan of Japanese culture. And Yugen means kind of deep or profound insight.
Oh, Yugen is this way. I wanna.
It reads top to bottom.
Yep. I wanna cut off your personal information and just show that with the website and the name of the company. There you go. There you guys go.
So Yugen is a word in Japanese that means sort of a deep and fundamental understanding about how the world really works. And I should say that Yugen is our aspiration. We aspire to having that kind of an understanding because, you know, I'm an ex-physicist, and physicists are all about what's really going on deep down. And so to try to unpack what I said in that earlier sentence, we think we have the fundamental insight into what the real value creation is for blockchain. And we're investing in companies that we think have sort of cracked the code.
You know, I am a big fan of physicists. I've worked with many of them on Wall Street, which is where I was for about 10 years before I came here. So the other question, and I see people in the live chat commenting, what are your thoughts on the Bitcoin forks? When they wanted to go to bigger blocks and we got Bcash, and then they didn't get along and we got BSV. And what do you think of our resident Craig Wright, our fake Satoshi?
Well, I guess my feeling about Craig
But
Wright,
try not to say too much because he's suing people.
I appreciate that.
Well, let's start with the Bcash fork. Let's start with the initial fork to bigger blocks.
Well, let's talk about forking. Is there something we need to know? Are we good?
No.
Okay. The forking is really an implicit part of having a universal ledger, and so in principle, I have no problem with that. To me, it's a very free-flowing market force, just another manifestation of a free-flowing market force. Now, I guess I feel a little differently when people talk about, when one person talks about trying to bankrupt the other by, holding up their blocks. I think there are more productive uses of compute cycles than that. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have the competing forks, but I don't see the point in trying to deliberately use one's compute cycles to pull down someone else rather than for more constructive purposes. That's where I would draw the line. I
Now,
mean, it's sort of like, if I could go on for just a second,
oh, please.
it's like I don't mind short sellers, but when short sellers deliberately try to put out, um, sort of fake news to try to advance their thesis, to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy, that's not the kind of free market capitalism world I want.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you. I mean, I didn't really mind them forking off the network. It was the fact that Bitcoin.com and the Bitcoin Twitter handle are calling their side Bitcoin. That's what was bothering me the most.
Yeah, I'd like things to rise on their merits.
All right, so let's talk about the free market a little bit. Do you think we will have a world with multiple currencies, or will the free market migrate into one? And I believe that if I believe there's going to be just one, and I believe that one to be Bitcoin. So I am one of those Bitcoin maximalists, and I love Francis Poulier's shirt. He's walking around, says toxic maximalist kind of shirt. So I'm one of those. What are your views about the free market economics choosing the most secure, even though it's not as private as some of the others, it's not as fast as some of the others, it's not as cheap as some of the others, but it's the most secure?
Okay, so I'm happy to discuss that secure argument, but I'd rather put that aspect of it aside and just go to whether the market drives towards a single coin or not. And I'd like to make an argument that it does not. And here's the premise of it. When we were at Belcore, part of the old Bell Labs, we used to spend time thinking about disruption across a lot of areas. And one of the key ways to think about it is not ask how to do the current systems as good as they are, but to do them one better. And so we used to think, whatever the topic we were working on, let's say it was books versus paper books versus electronic books. We said the question you have to ask is, what does a book dream of becoming? So we're not trying to make an imitation of a paper book. We're trying to ask what a book wishes it could be. And in a similar vein, you don't try to recreate money, but in digital form, you ask, what does money wish it could be? Okay? What is it that, money, when it fantasizes, wish it could grow up to become? Or for programmers, what is money plus plus? And in that sense, I think money plus plus is not a unidimensional quantity. And for that reason, I argue that we're not going to see just a single dominant currency. In a sense, no one complains about the fact that there's 5,000 different equities that are traded on American markets. Nobody says there should just be a single equity.
Oh, I think there's a big difference there.
Absolutely, I understand that there's an extremum there because they're very, very different things. But I think we're missing something if we don't think that money itself can start to diversify. Okay, that's what money plus plus is about. That's what money dreams of being.
Okay, I would love to debate, but I do want to move on and get your thoughts on other things. What are your thoughts on the smart contract layers, Ethereum, EOS, Cardano? What do you think of them? And I'm a big fan of the liquid sidechain. I don't know if you've looked into it, which I am expecting to eventually steal all of their thunder because they're in competition with each other. And I think a lot of them have regulatory concerns, security concerns, and leadership can dictate a lot of their immutability.
Yeah. Well, let me just say that I'm in general, a Nick Szabo fan. And I think smart contracts have a big role to play. However, as someone that has to wear an investor's hat, I think it's a question of layering and timing. And I don't think smart contracts are going to play out as quickly as people thought they would. I think, we have a kind of 5 phases of development of blockchain model that we use as part of our investment thesis. The first phase is simple audit. The second phase is reconciliation and settlement, which is really talking about distributed ledger. The third phase is realizing the liquidity premium of illiquid assets that can be tokenized and quantized. The fourth phase is cryptocurrencies. So we think, in a sense, the revolution that Bitcoin kickstarted, that it was actually a little too early for itself. And then the fifth phase, we think, has to do with kind of reinventing the corporation so that incentives in a token form flow in almost real time according to the consensus of the group about who has created value. And so my point is that it's really not until you get to the third and fifth phases that smart contracts really come into play. And so I think I'm a little concerned about people that have done if we build it, they will come on smart contracts. I'm a bigger fan of radical end games and incremental ways of getting there, as opposed to what I see as the big platform plays are kind of radical end games that we're going to go single stage to orbit and just get there immediately. I don't think that's as valid. I think the niche uses that find pain points now and then can grow into being big platforms are a better bet. Doesn't mean that I don't follow EOS and Dan Larimer and Cardano and the others, and we're big fans of what they're proposing for the long term, but I wonder if they're trying to sort of push it horizontally before it succeeds vertically.
All right, one more quick question, one quick follow-up on smart contracts. Do you feel there is a global need to have them decentralized, or would your original solution would have served well for the smart contract layer?
Okay,
because there's lots of inefficiencies with decentralization, and it has to be worth it to prevent censorship.
Okay, you're really getting on a sophisticated point, and I relish it. I welcome it. In our model, it was the records that had to be decentralized, and not necessarily the computation. And so the idea of tens of thousands of nodes in the original Ethereum model, that we had to do computing in lockstep. Again, I think that's overkill. That doesn't mean that with improvements to Ethereum that you count out Ethereum. That's not my point. But I think smart contracts, remember, smart contracts were imagined before a world of the decentralized, the distributed ledger. And if that's true, then even more so before a world of 10,000 nodes executing the same thing simultaneously. So I think, again, that's a little overreach in the same sense that I felt mining was a necessary initial step, but in the long term will prove to be a bit of an overreach. So smart contracts, I'm very bullish that today is the day for them, not so much.
All right, and if you want to keep talking, I can keep asking you questions, but my audience does want to know, and I'm curious myself. Now, you don't have to answer. By percentage, what does your personal crypto portfolio looks like? For me, it's 100% Bitcoin. Maybe there's some Litecoin sitting on some old laptop somewhere that will comprise 0.01% that I'll probably never even look for. So for me, it's all Bitcoin all the time. By percentage, are you 50% Bitcoin and other? Do you like the privacy coins, the smart contract layers? And you can choose not to answer the question.
Yeah, I guess what I would say, I'll partially answer the question. And that is, if people look at where we're investing, they will see that we believe in cryptocurrency, but we think that picks and shovels investing is the right way to go right now. Because I teach
people how to be traders, so understandable.
We believe in the growth of that industry, but for us, it's not this cryptocurrency versus that one. There's so many dynamics that I think are unpredictable about cryptocurrencies that I just don't feel like I can wear the fiduciary duty hat and go 100% into something versus something else.
So half Bitcoin, less than half Bitcoin, mostly Bitcoin. Give us something.
There's a lot of currencies out there. Let's leave it at that.
All right, sounds good. All right, guys. Again,
If I were to say,
go ahead.
if I were just to
Please.
kind of make a closing comment, it would be just how much I believe in the ability of the blockchain over the long term to create a more peer-to-peer world where more and more of us kind of feel middle class, and there are fewer concentrations of capital and power that lead inevitably to abuse. I still wave that idealist flag. Even as an investor, we have to move prudently forward. But to me, the basic idea that we had was all about that kind of liberation and the peer-to-peer nature of the world, of a world that I wanted to live in. So I hope people won't give up the faith. Just they got to be practically minded as they inch toward the future.
All right, Scott, that was absolutely excellent.
Sure.
And once again, guys, this was a quick interview with Scott Stornetta. Pronounced that correctly?
Yeah.
Scott Stornetta and he's referenced right here in Satoshi white paper. You can see his name in 3 and 4 and 5, and also
If you
helped write number 2.
Paper 2, you'll know why I say 2 through 5.
Okay, guys, so there you go. Currently with this I can show. Currently with Union Partners, you can see it right there in the corner there. And there you go, great interview.
Hey,
thank you so much. And I have your email. I'll send you the link in the podcast so you can see it.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, guys, that was interesting. I didn't know he was here. I've actually never thought to look for the man, but I will try to keep up with his work. Anyone that has been referenced in a Satoshi white paper is of interest to me and hopefully this channel. And I'm just gonna have a few closing statements. People are ready to interview me. I got interviews lined up for the next 2 hours. So let's have one final 3-minute look at Bitcoin. And yes, this is the Satoshi white paper, and you just saw the interview with Scott. Let me all right, let me end this screen share. I gotta jump on the other screen share for the price. One last look at the price. That is gold. Just a quick look, and I did want to answer that one question that I got that I was about to answer. Let me see if I can still find that question again from Dan. There it is. December 2017, the $13,863 monthly all-time high close on Coinbase. The significance of a June 2019, a monthly close above that number. 4 days to monthly closing. We are 4 days away from a monthly closing. Let me go take a look at that monthly chart. This is that monthly chart, and this is the highest monthly close that I have on the index, and that close is 13,899. And right now we are sitting at well, on a monthly scale, right, this hasn't updated yet. So right now we're at like 13.8. So we're right at that high close. I believe that it is actually significant. A new all-time high close is always significant. A new close at any scale is always significant. So having a close, I didn't even think of it this way until somebody just pointed out. So thank you, Dan. Having a close at this level, I believe is significant, but we still have 4 days to go. If we do close at a new high, on a monthly scale, the likelihood of 5 more months of upside is greater than 50% at this point, based on monthly scales. So that's the best I can tell you guys right now. All right. On this note, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day on the live streams. Had some good interviews. I enjoyed it, and it's time for me to be interviewed on many channels, starting with the lovely Catalina and her tech channel. You saw her on this channel yesterday for a second, and after that, I got Crypto Man Ran and David Fuchs, who's working on Bit by Bit documentary. All right, guys, talk to you all on the next one. And I got a flight back to the East Coast today. And someone asked, will I be in Ukraine for BIP001 in Odessa? And the answer is yes, I will. Okay, I will be there. I'm on the speaker list. I will attend. Talk to you all on the next one.